on the news tonight. Tonight, President William Ruto's nominees to cabinet put to task over past scandals while they served in several public offices.
I am clear in my mind that I never shot anyone because I don't own a gun. I'm not a gun holder.
Samburu West lawmaker Naisula Lesuda overcome with emotions over banditry attacks in her home area. This as Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action CS nominee Aisha Jumwa narrates her difficult upbringing.
The youth to struggle to provide for me.
Weatherman comes bearing bad news to Kenyans hit by the worst drought in 40 years.
Kama napata chakula nisaidie. Hii watu wote takufa kama bana chakula kutoka kwa serikali.
This as many counties are expected to receive below average or no rainfall at all. Catherine Simaloi is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. Tonight, ghosts of the past return to haunt President William Ruto's cabinet nominees as MPs revisited their involvement in past scandals. Former Kilifi MP Aisha Jumwa was challenged to step aside due to a murder case facing her in court, as former Central Bank Governor Professor Njuguna Ndung'u was forced to defend his tenure amid claims of banks collapsing under his watch. This as Energy CS nominee Davis Chirchir claimed he had no role to play in the infamous 50 million shilling scandal termed Chicken Gate scandal. Our senior political affairs reporter Apollo Kamau begins our broadcast tonight.
On the second day of vetting by the Committee on Appointments, President William Ruto's cabinet nominees came face to face with ghosts of the past, revisited by the House team. Public Service and Gender CS nominee Aisha Jumwa was put on the spot over the murder of her opponent's aide, Ngumbao Jola, during the Ganda ward by-election campaigns in 2019, with MPs challenging her to step aside until she's cleared by the court.
Don't you think, through the chair, Madam Nominee, that it is good for this country, for the image of this country at the level of the cabinet, for you to stay aside until those cases are determined?
If you are to be found guilty in either of those cases, would you be willing to take responsibility?
I am clear in my mind that I never shot anyone because I don't own a gun. I'm not a gun holder. And I don't know even the names of the guns in this country.
Jumwa was not off the hook yet, as MPs questioned her academic qualifications. After it emerged, she got a D- in her Form 4 examinations.
The clarification which I am seeking is what she got in Form 4, because the papers before us is that she got a D- in Form 4. And I'm comparing that honorable speaker with a degree. You know, and I'm asking myself, if you are in Pokot, for example, can you really get a D- and get a degree? What is the road of getting that degree, Honorable Chair?
I think that is not a qualification to judge Aisha Jumwa on sitting in the cabinet. I think the person who nominated me to this position did his due diligence.
Former Central Bank Governor and Treasury nominee Professor Njuguna Ndung'u defended himself over claims of presiding over the collapse of banks under his watch, terming it as a political witch hunt from those who wanted to dislodge him from the CBK helm. Professor Ndung'u also fought off claims on the sale of the Grand Regency Hotel and his role in the money printing tender.
During a time in CBK, every single mega project that you undertook was dogged by matters of corruption.
I've been a victim of
abuse of the criminal justice system. For example, the procurement that has been mentioned. The whole idea was to get Njuguna Ndung'u out of the central bank. How do you do it? That's why even if you go to the records, you will just be embarrassed, the kind of facts.
Another of Ruto's nominees, Davis Chirchir, was forced to absolve himself before the committee on claims of his involvement in the 50 million shillings chicken gate scandal when he served at IEBC. MPs further prodded Chirchir on his sacking as energy CS by President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2015 due to corruption allegations. It's not just about digging into the nominees' past, but also testing their capability to perform in their new office if they are approved by the committee and the plenary. Apol Kamau, TV47 at County Hall.
Now, for the second day running, the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments had pressed President William Ruto's cabinet nominees for different slots to the cabinet, presenting Kenyans with another moment to get to know the worth of individuals who will eventually take up top roles in the Hustler government. Yet again, the second batch of 5 nominees to be vetted, declaring their worth hundreds of millions as revelations about how rich they are came up. Moige William with the figures of the 5.
First to appear before the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments chaired by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, Tuesday was the Interior Cabinet Secretary nominee Kithure Kindiki. The lawyer-cum-politician revealed that he is worth 544 million shillings, stating that his wealth comes from investments in land and buildings, bank deposits, investments in share and deposits in 5 different circles.
Made up of landed buildings, around 165 million. It's also made up of bank deposits, about 50 million Kenya shillings, investments in shares, and deposits in 5 different circles.
The professor of law, who practiced for 22 years, served as senator for the Rakanithi from 2013 to 2022, and at one time was the Senate Deputy Speaker. Before getting into the murky world of politics, he taught law at Moi and Nairobi universities. Kindiki also served as Secretary of the Directorate of National Cohesion and Values in the Ministry of Justice soon after the 2008 post-election violence. Second to appear before the Wetangula-led committee was Treasury Cabinet Secretary nominee Njuguna Ndung'u. The former Central Bank of Kenya governor placed his net worth at 950 million shillings.
Financial investments through different sources, diverse sources. Those are the anticipated incomes coming to me.
Njuguna is currently working with the Africa Economic Research Consortium. The economist served as the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya for 2 consecutive 4-year terms, from March 2007 until March 2015. Aisha Jumwa, Cabinet Secretary nominee for Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action, that to be grilled by the 15-member committee, was also asked to declare her net worth, seeming to fumble before the full glare of the cameras and declaring she is worth 100 million shillings and that her current source of income was her pension.
I'm worth 100 million.
Also vetted Tuesday was Davis Chirchir, who could be back to a docket he left in 2015 after graft allegations in the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, telling the Parliament vetting committee that he is worth
482,200,000.
Tabulated as
farms in Olengurwane, Kipsonoi, a house in Spring Valley at 95, my current residence, some rental property in Westlands in Matundu, valued at 50 million.
The last of Ruto's men to appear for vetting was Moses Kuria, fronted to take up the trade docket, and he was not spared to state his net worth.
My net worth, Mr. Chair, is 750 million shillings. My net worth is comprising of real estate developments and shares held in unlisted companies in my business concerns, in manufacturing, in fintech, and in energy sector.
The committee will continue with its parliamentary task of vetting nominees Wednesday. Moige William, TV47.
Now, Gender CS nominee Aisha Jumwa broke down before the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments as she detailed her troubled yet humble background and rise to prominence. Aisha Jumwa also wept as she narrated her early marriage ordeal. Elizabeth Atieno tells us more.
At exactly 2:20 p.m. Tuesday afternoon at the National Assembly buildings, it was the turn of Cabinet Secretary nominee for Public Service, Affirmative Action and Gender Aisha Jumwa to get on the hot seat and defend her nomination for the position before the National Assembly Committee on Appointments. The CS nominee, known to many as aggressive and strong, today revealed her rarely depicted soft and emotional side when she uncontrollably broke down in tears narrating a difficult upbringing. The CS nominee telling the legislators how she grew up in a low-income family and how hard it was for her parents to take care of her and her 27 siblings.
I have come from very far. I was born and raised in humble settings in a historical fishing village known as Takaungu in Kilifi North constituency in Kilifi County. And my parents were poor. They used to struggle to provide for me.
Boss yourself. We have all walked the same journey.
Born on the 28th of March 1975 in Kilifi County, Aisha Jumwa painfully narrated how she was born in a polygamous family to Karisa Katana and Sidi Kazungu.
So I went to a local school known as Takaungu Primary from 1983 to 1991. And Mr. Chairman, I proceeded to Ganja Secondary School. Regrettably, I had to drop out due to lack of school fees. And Mr. Chairman, I have touched a little bit about my family. And that explains how we used to struggle and the lack of school fees. So, Mr. Chairman, I was at home. There were absolutely no prospects to expand my horizons. So I was just there. And little did I know the sad fate that most of the rural girls face awaited me with open arms. Early marriage.
Her marriage, however, did not last long after she refused to be a housewife and decided to pursue her ambition in politics, a move that did not sit well with her husband.
So, Mr. Chairman, I got married off. And in that union, I became a mother of my firstborn. Mr. Chairman, I must say that this is one of the practices that must be curbed, because it's very harmful and painful to the girl child, especially those underage.
Defying the odds and with a quest to get educated, she enrolled as a private student at Chandaria Hall in Mombasa, where she did her KCSE examination in 2011. She then did her certificate in governance at Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology in 2012 and later a diploma from the same institution. After her diploma, she enrolled for a degree course at International Leadership University and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Leadership and Management in 2020.
Mr. Chairman, a common theme amongst my courses is leadership and governance. And I took the view that I must improve myself intellectually and spiritually in order to serve the community better.
Being a vocal voice in youth, women and persons living with disability matters, Aisha became the first Kilifi woman representative in 2013, which she won on an ODM party ticket. She was later elected Malindi Township Member of Parliament and has since wrestled and stood out as one of the fiercest women politicians in the country.
Yes.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Well, away from matters cabinet and the vetting to more news, the family and friends of the late former Member of Parliament for Inapkoi constituency, William Chepkut, have today converged in Uasin Gishu County for his burial ceremony. The family has mourned their own as a jovial and witty character who liked being around people, while his fellow leaders have mourned him as a leader who was a giver and gave those who needed a listening ear. The late Chepkut died on Saturday, 8th October. Chepkut has the details.
Family and friends of the late former Member of Parliament for Ainabkoi constituency, William Chepkut, gathered at his home in Ainabkoi, Uasin Gishu County for his burial ceremony.
That even as I lay my father to rest, that I do not disgrace him but honor him in his last moments.
He was a humble servant, a kind giver, and an ambitious man.
He was always reminding me of hard work, respect, and always telling us that knowledge is power.
The family has mourned Chepkut as a disciplined leader, with respect being his pillar.
Sudi, I'm asking you for one favor. I ask you to tell the current president now. I want to have a cup of tea with him and teach me the ways of how to become like my father.
And I want to send this message to Mheshimiwa Honorable Chepkonga that in the future I'm coming to become the MP of Ainabkoi. Tonight he brings my ndichoma, then he wakes me up and says,
Various leaders who attended the funeral have mourned Chepkut as a leader who was a giver and always served his people to his best.
The country has lost an exemplary and selfless leader who was faithful to the people he served.
A very generous-hearted person. If you call Chepkut and he's busy doing his things, he will abandon his and come and do yours.
Na alisimamia haki na akasimamia wananchi wote. Akiwa na shida Chepkut anasimama.
He was a God-fearing and resolute leader who cared for the welfare of the constituents and Kenyans at large.
Chepkut, who served as the Member of Parliament for Ainabkoi between 2017 and 2022, met his death on Saturday, 8th of October, after collapsing at his home in Nairobi and was rushed to hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. According to the family, Chepkut has been ailing for some time. He got an accident in a city hotel which resulted to a knee fracture. The former lawmaker died of a blood clot. GOtv 47.
Witty he was, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Moving on, residents of Elgeyo Marakwet County have resorted to feeding on, listen to these, wild fruits in order to survive the harsh realities of food scarcity occasioned by drought in the area. This even as the weatherman warns Kenyans of tough times ahead as unevenly distributed rainfall is set to occur across the country. Zainab Mohammed has more.
Even as many Kenyans continue to face a bleak future due to the biting drought, the weatherman has some not so good news. Many will have to endure the drought further, with the weather patterns compounding the already dire situation. The weatherman predicts that rainfall in October will be unevenly distributed across the country. According to the Meteorological Department, several counties have been categorized as those that will experience near average rainfall, near average to above average rainfall, and below average rainfall. Laikipia and Nyeri counties will experience near average rainfall. According to the projections, the counties of Turkana, West Pokot, Baringo, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, Bomet, Narok, Nakuru, and Nyandarua have been categorized as those that will receive near average to above average rainfall. Counties expected to have below average rainfall in October, and which make up more than half of the country, include Mandera, Marsabit, Wajir, Samburu, Isiolo, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Embu, Machakos, Kajiado, Makueni, Taita Taveta, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Kitui, Lamu, Garissa, Isiolo and Wajir. And in Elgeyo-Marakwet County, residents have resorted to feeding on wild fruits in order to survive the harsh realities of food scarcity occasioned by drought in the area. According to the residents, little to no rain over the past couple of months has resulted in zero harvests. They now say they might lose all their animals to the drought should the situation prolong for the next couple of months.
Hapa ndio iko imesidi kabisa. Sasa vile kitu tunatumia hii madawa ya mamiti na jaribu kujiokoa na hiyo. Mahindi tulipanda haikutoka. Jua imekata hiyo kuisha.
Chafuna msimu mtatu sababu ya mvua. Sasa tegemeo letu tunategemea wanyama wanatuletea chakula kwa msituni. Tunaita ng'oshe. Tunakula hapa, wanaenda wanakula msituni, alafu wanaleta, sisi tunasanya kwa boma, tunachamusha, tunakula.
Zainab Mohammed, 247.
Now, several Cabinet Secretary nominees were today put to task to explain how they will use their position to improve the lives of Kenyans. And as Andrin Kilemi now reports, the nominees put their best foot forward to try and convince the lawmakers vetting them on why they are the best pick.
As the vetting of cabinet nominees entered day 2, questions to revive the economy that has been continually termed as dilapidated by the Kenya Kwanza government came up.
As it stands, the cost of living has risen and many Kenyans are facing economic hardship. Also, the cost of basic commodities has skyrocketed and is beyond the reach of many Kenyans.
National Treasury and Planning Cabinet Secretary nominee Njuguna Ndong'o, who is set to play a vital role in restoring the economy if approved, told the 15-member committee led by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula that there was need to create buffers in the economy to mitigate economic shocks in the short term should they arise.
And those buffers, for example, related to food security. Of course, it's expensive to store cereals for a long time, but the best thing is actually to have resources to do that, to buy at that particular time. Energy resources, that is petroleum backups. And then, of course, we should have buffers in terms of fiscal space. And finally, we should have buffers from the central bank in terms of foreign exchange reserves.
The former central bank governor and university lecturer, if approved by parliament, will take charge of the national treasury at a time when the economy is crippled with debt, inflation, joblessness, high cost of basic commodities and hunger.
I think right now, the way the situation is, given the multiple shocks and even the surprise are quite prevalent, the best would be to look for concession of financing that would retire most of the debt, especially the domestic debt, which is very, very expensive. It's taking quite a large proportion of recurrent expenditure, about to the tune of about 33%.
Energy and Petroleum CS nominee Davis Chirchir, appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Appointments, said the solution to bringing down the cost of power lies in reducing the cost of electricity distribution, and further noting that the country needs to upgrade its network, saying it is weak.
Sometimes we have not maintained the networks and the trees come down on power lines. Some of the posts are rotten and we really need to upgrade our network. So we'll again be sitting down with the entities, particularly Kenya Power and REA, to address the strengthening of the network so that every time there is wind before the rain, the network doesn't come down.
The vetting process will enter day 3 Wednesday, with other cabinet nominees expected to appear before the committee. Those scheduled to face the legislators include Roads and Transport CS nominee Kipchumba Murkomen, Environment and Forestry CS nominee Soipan Tuya, Penina Malonze of the Tourism and Wildlife Ministry, Zakaria Mwangi and Susan Wafula of Lands and Health, respectively. Andrina Kilemi, TV 47.
Now, the supremacy battle that is looming in the Nairobi County Assembly will be a litmus test for Speaker Ken Ngondi, as he is expected to make his ruling next week on Tuesday. This comes as Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalition counterparts named their majority leader last week. And as Stanley Nyaringita now reports, there are a total of 123 MCAs, with 85 of them elected while 39 nominated.
Order on the members.
The push and pull on which political outfits form the majority in the Nairobi County Assembly is still protracted, even as Speaker Ken Ngundi is set to rule on the matter next week on Tuesday.
You know, the MOU signed between the Azimio parties, the binding agreement shows that we are the majority. Also, by numbers alone, we are the majority. I don't think that that is in question.
In a bid to prove they form the majority, both President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza and former presidential candidate Raila Odinga's Azimio allied MCAs last week named their proposed majority leaders in the assembly. UDA named Waithaka MC Anthony Kirangu as the majority leader and proposed that he be deputized by South P MCA Waithera Shege. Umoja One MCA Mark Mugambi was proposed to take up the majority whip position, and nominated MCA Joyce Muthoni proposed as his deputy. This as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition named Makongeni MCA Peter Imwatok as the majority leader to be deputized by Laini Saba MCA Johnny Musila. Kilimani MCA Moses Ogeto was named as Azimio's majority whip and be deputized by Upper Savannah MCA Elijah Stazo.
Once the election are done, he becomes the speaker for all the 123 members, and therefore we expect him to be impartial. Yeah, we don't expect him to take sides. We expect him to give a judgment that Kenya Kwanza is the majority party.
Out of the total 123 MCAs in the assembly, 85 are elected members while 39 are nominated. UDA and ODM each have 52 MCAs, while former President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee has 9, Wiper has 6, CCK has 1 and 3 are independent members. Policy expert Alenga Torostat denotes that next week's ruling by Speaker Ngundi will be a litmus test to show how best he can make determinations on such delicate matters in the assembly.
The speaker comes from the Azimio side, so going with what we saw in the parliament the other day where the speaker is from Kenya Kwanza side, and obviously they made a ruling that is palatable to the Kenya Kwanza side, so definitely we'll expect a similar trend.
This as Governor Johnson Sakaja is expected to officially open the third assembly on Wednesday this week. Stanley Nyaringita, TV47, Net.
Thank you, Stanley, for that report. You're watching Kenya's fastest growing television. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with us. We still have a lot lined up for you.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening?
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to more news. And the Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet nominee Professor Kithure Kindiki has pledged to deal with insecurity menace in the Rift Valley region, signaling out banditry attacks in the key areas in his first days in office, if Parliament approves his nomination to the Cabinet. Speaking while appearing before the Committee on Appointments, Kindiki was put to task to explain how he will better the police service, even as members emotionally raised questions on what they termed as extrajudicial killings by a well-known squad within the service.
County.
Issues to the threat of insecurity in various parts of the country took center stage during the grilling of Interior Cabinet Secretary nominee Professor Kithure Kindiki, who appeared before Parliament's Committee on Appointments.
My net worth, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, is 544 million Kenya shillings.
Members putting Kindiki to task to explain how we will restore sanity to the North Rift region, which has become one of Kenya's poster childs in regards to issues to do with insecurity. So tense was the situation that made Samburu West Member of Parliament Naisula Lesuda to break down as she lamented over cases of insecurity and cattle rustling in North Kenya, which she said has been ignored for far too long as innocent people continue to lose their lives. Citing the Baragoi massacre of 2012 that led the death of 42 officers, Lesuda said that the vice had been ignored, with Kenyans in the region missing out on the rights to protection of their life and property. Kindiki vowing to make it his first assignment to deal with banditry in the said areas.
Tend to do differently from your predecessors, away from the usual rhetoric and threats. Perhaps you need to come and live in Kurkur, Pora, Longewan, Losuk, incognito for only 1 week. Come and stay there. What strategy or are your thoughts do you have to end this menace once and for all, so that as a leader I can execute my other national duties and not concern myself only on matters of security?
To address the issue of banditry in the North Rift, I have been instructed, subject to this approval process, to make sure that we deal with banditry once and for all in the North Rift.
Some of the issues that came to the fore as remedies to the lethargy by the law enforcement to deal with the insecurity scourge, including cleaning of the police service. This coming just days after President Ruto ordered the disbursement of the Special Service Unit within the DCI, which he said was responsible for increase in the cases of extrajudicial killings.
Professor, an honorable chair that has suffered this extrajudicial killing, but they name it operation so that it looks good, it looks accepted to be meted on a community like Pokot. Honorable Chair, you can remember, the worst one was in 1984, where almost 25% of Pokot were exterminated.
Is to see how we can make them more human rights friendly, but I did caution that some of these measures are critical to secure our borders, but they should not be used to punish citizens. So increasingly, no person from any part of Kenya should feel being treated differently, and so I will be seeking the support and counsel from the leadership from these areas to see what can be improved without hurting critical aspects of national security.
Questions on Kindiki's soft-spoken demeanor also played out with the man who narrowly missed out on the deputy president's slot, pledging to be humble but firm while dealing with criminals.
Ruthlessness with criminals is matched with the respect for human rights. So law-abiding citizens don't have anything to fear. There will be no extrajudicial killings. There will be no abuse of human rights. But we will do to criminals what needs to be done for them under both national and international law.
If approved, Kindiki will become the fourth to handle the powerful slot, which has in the past been riddled with accusations of abuse of human rights. The voice of members on matters security in the Northern Corridor generally reflects the menace on the ground. On whether this will be dealt thoroughly by the new regime is a matter of wait and see. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Palm Biddings, Nairobi.
Moving on, Kenyans have up to November 18th, 2022 to submit their concerns on the competency-based curriculum to the Presidential Working Party on education reforms. Kenyans can only submit their proposals through written memoranda, letters or research papers. Our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga now reports.
The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, appointed by President William Ruto to help steer the country in the right direction in the implementation of the competency-based curriculum, has invited Kenyans to submit their views on the new curriculum. Individuals, public and private institutions have a month from now to submit their concerns with the deadline set as November 18th, 2022 at 5 p.m. The views are being received by way of written memoranda, letters or research papers. The Working Party is expecting to receive views on appropriate structures to implement CBC, governance of the basic education sector, appropriate financing framework, among others. The Professor Raphael Munavo-led Working Party is expected to deliver a conclusive report on CBC recommendations to the President after 6 months. The competency-based curriculum has been on news headlines for quite some time, with parents complaining that the curriculum has been a burden to them and at the same time it is expensive, especially to families in the low-income bracket. But the government has maintained that CBC is here to stay. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Elsewhere, grief and sadness dominated Ndula village in Thika constituency, Kiambu County on Tuesday at the funeral of Travis Maina, a 2-year-old child who succumbed during an operation to remove a fork jembe lodged in his head. The death of Travis hit the headlines due to allegations of negligence at the Kenyatta National Hospital. And as Mike Gongo now reports, Travis Maina was the last born in a family of 3.
The body of Travis Maina left Kenyatta National Hospital morgue at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, ready for a more than 30 kilometers final journey for his burial. When his body arrived in Ndula village, Thika constituency, a state of sadness and grief rented the air, as family members and friends came to witness his final send-off. Many of those who attended the event describing his death as a sad occurrence, giving words of hope to the family and an advice to parents to be more careful with their children while playing at home unsupervised.
If there is anybody culpable, if there is anybody responsible out of negligence, please don't stop at this. Follow it up until justice is found, if not for Travis, at least for the mother.
Huyu mtoto hata akawa mtu mkubwa, mupeane hii story venye iko, asikai hata siku moja aone ameua nani? Ndugu yake.
Travis Maina passed on last Tuesday at the Kenyatta National Hospital while he was undergoing surgery to remove a fork jembe lodged in his head.
Serikali yetu ikiongozwa na president wetu William Samoei Ruto wajue ya kwamba health is a basic need. Na hakuna mtu anaweza taka kuumia juu ya kukosa pesa. Tunamuomba kuwe na reforms Kenyatta National Hospital na hospitali nyingine ambayo iko na udhaifu, ili mambo ya kuitishaga watu deposit ili waweze kuwatibu hiyo maneno ifike mwisho. Wacha Travis akuwe ni wa mwisho.
Hapa katika sehemu ya Ngoriba ward tunataka ambulance ambayo tukipata cases kama hii tuliweza kupata, tunaweza kuchukua na kupiga simu na kufanya nini na kupeleka mgonjwa wetu.
Maina was hit on the head accidentally by his elder sibling while plowing their farm before he was rushed to the level 5 hospital and later KNH for emergency treatment where he succumbed.
Mkipoona mtoto Derek hana ule ufahamu sana chenye kiliendelea. Na venye tuliongea na yeye ukweli wa mambo, watoto ni watoto. Na venye hata huyo mtoto aliniongelesha jana, tukaongea na yeye, ndio kusikue na mmoja wenu atatoa maneno ambayo ni kinyume, ilete shida katika hii familia.
The family blamed the hospital's nurses for alleged negligence after staying for more than 20 hours without being attended to. According to Maina's aunt Lucy Wajiro, when she arrived at KNH with the little boy, the doctor she first met did not bother to listen to her, but instead asked her to pay the required registration fee. They spent the night holding the little boy in their arms until Tuesday morning, and the only thing the doctors did was to administer fluids as well as taking photos.
Hizo ofisi ziwe active hadi sasa hapo wange make decision kwanza mtoto atibiwe, hiyo mambo mengine itakuja baadaye.
Travis was born on the 7th of July 2020 and has left behind two siblings aged 4 and 7 years. Travis Maina's 2 years 3 months spell came to an end Tuesday at his home in Dula village after being laid to rest, leaving behind a grieved family with questions crisscrossing their mind on what transpired before his death. Mike GOtv 47 from Ndola village in Thika Town constituency, Kiambu County.
Moving on, a middle-aged woman died by a suspected suicide on a mango tree in the presence of her 2-year-old son in Nishangi village, Mwea East. According to the residents, the cry of the baby brought them closer to the scene where they found the body of a woman hanging from the tree. Chichi Josephine has that sad story.
Sorrow, shock and disbelief gripped residents of Isangi village in Mwea East sub-county after the body of a middle-aged woman was found hanging from a mango tree in what is suspected to have been dead by suicide. Residents say that a baby's cry drew them closer to the scene, and on arrival at the nearby mango plantation, they found the body of the woman hanging from the tree while the son was holding her legs, an indication that she could have died of suicide in presence of a 2-year-old son.
Nilikuja kazi kwa mzee Ngale. Sasa nikiwa huko nikaenda kutafutia mbuzi nyasi. Kufika kwa kahawa nikasikia mtoto analia. Kuangalia ni wapi, nikaona mtoto ameshika mamake. Sasa mtoto analia. Sasa ndivyo nilipigia mzee simu nikamwambia akunje haraka, kuna maneno iko na huku. Akakuja, tukaangalia tukaona ni mama amenjinyonga na mtoto analia.
It is suspected that the woman took her life early morning as she had been seen on Monday at Gathoge Market.
Hata leo asubuhi kuna mtu mmoja alisema kwamba walikuja pamoja kutoka Gathoge wanateremka. Huyu ambenjiwa akaachwa nyuma kidogo, lakini huyo mama mwingine kwa sababu alikuwa anapeleka mtoto shule akaenda akamwacha.
However, no villager nearby recognized her, with some saying that she might have come from another area.
Nasikia kuna watu wanasema wanamuonanga Gathoge, pengine asubuhi alionekana. Sasa hapo hatujui vizuri kwani kulienda aje.
Ukiona mwanamke amefanya hivyo, lazima akuwe na shida.
The government have been urged to address the increasing cost of living, which many blame for the increasing cases of death by suicide and mental health cases.
Sisi tungetaka kuuliza serikali ni wakati mzuri, hata kama hakuna kitu ya kusaidia watu, waweze kutoa watu wakwenda wakielimisha watu, wakiongea na watu, kuwapatia advice ya vile watakaa, sababu kuna mashida ambayo ndio inaleta mambo kama hii.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Now, the county government of Kiambu has announced a cholera outbreak in the county following the diagnosis of 15 people with the ailment. According to the governor, Kimani Wamatangi, out of the 15 patients who are from Limuru, Ruiru, Kiamba, Kiambu, Juja and Gatanga, 3 are in critical condition while 12 are in a stable condition. Residents of Kiambu have been urged to exercise caution in the food they eat and the water they drink so as to contain the outbreak. The outbreak is said to have originated from a wedding in Limuru.
15 watu 4 walikuwa ni Limuru, watu 3 walikuwa Ruiru, watu 3 kule Kiamba, mtu mmoja Kiambu town, mtu mmoja Juja, Gatanga watu 2 na mtu mmoja bado hajajulikana vizuri mahali alikuwa ametoka. Basi hawa watu wote 5 walipelekwa kwenye mahospitali tofauti, watu wakiwa hapa 12 ambao walitibiwa hawakuwa wameugua sana, ilikuwa ni kadiri, 2 wakiwa walikuwa kwa hali ambayo tunaweza kuita hali ya hatari, ambapo walikuwa kwenye ICU.
Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has today assured county governments that there will be an improvement in the disbursement of funds to the counties by the national government, encouraging them to have a quick absorption of the funds, a move that will see the economy of the counties grow. Speaking while presiding over his first intergovernmental budget and economic council, the Deputy President has also indicated that the national government shall enhance its relationship with the county governments and ensure that the Council of Governors is well anchored.
The intergovernmental relations are anchored in the office of the Deputy President, but we have agreed they will be an addendum to the executive order so that the Council of Governors is properly anchored in law in that particular office. We have also discussed about the transfer of functions, and we have confirmed to the Council that the Ruto administration has a political goodwill and every intention to hasten and fast track the transfer of functions as per our Constitution. And we have given ourselves a target, a deadline of 6 months within which all functions should be transferred. And shortly we'll be convening a meeting of all the relevant ministries to agree on the roadmap towards the final transfer of all devolved functions to the county governments. We have, from the national government, we have communicated to our governors that the Ruto administration is desirous of the best working relationship between the national government and the county government.
Well, you're watching TV 47 News tonight. Time for us to take another short break. Sports News with Dennis Otieno is up next. Stay with us.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. Farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday.
Welcome back. Let's get to the world of sports. Dennis Otieno is with us in studio. Dennis, good evening.
Good evening to you too, Abubakar. Now I tell you, tonight we have a lot that's lined up for you in the world of sports. We'll be telling you about the African Business Football Summit. We shall also be telling you about the doping menace that has been grappling the country. Of course, to start us off is matters, the forum, or rather the summit, that saw over 100 key sports businesses and personalities from World Football Governing Body FIFA. Representatives from local and international clubs and leagues, federations, educators and government officials, amongst others, earlier today attend the African Football Business Summit at the Weston Hotel in Nairobi. The summit targets to educate the sports stakeholders on making investments, talent management, governance and the future of sports in the continent, while at the same time supporting the 5 African teams scheduled to play in the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Speaking during the summit, FIFA high performance specialist and African football legend Anthony Baffour stated that African sports has few private sector investors and sports business education programs, hence the need to start the initiative so as to help benchmark the industry to international standards. The African Football Business Summit was launched last year with 5 objectives, including bringing together government, private sector and academia stakeholders to understand the football ecosystem and explore collaborations to develop the sport across the continent.
When I see the active stakeholders, like the players, being involved when it comes to the business of football.
It all starts from us. We have to promote our own. We have to push our